It's smaller than a pinhead. It doesn't bite, doesn't growl, isn't venomous. It has no teeth, no claws, no poison. It doesn't hunt. Sometimes it doesn't even walk, it just sits in one spot and sucks. And yet it is one of the most successful conquerors in the entire history of life on this planet. The aphid has existed for 280 million years. For comparison, dinosaurs appeared roughly 230 million years ago. The aphid was already here. It survived 5 mass extinctions. It survived the asteroid that wiped out everything large on the planet. It survived ice ages and continental drift. And this morning, it was sitting on your rows. 1 millimeter. Sometimes 2. That's its entire size. But that 1 millimeter feeds whole armies of ants like livestock, destroys crops worth tens of billions of dollars every year, chemically reprograms plants to serve its own needs, and reproduces in a way that breaks the basic logic of biology. It is born pregnant. Directly from the mother's body comes a daughter, and inside that daughter, a granddaughter is already growing. 3 generations existing simultaneously inside one body. This is not a figure of speech. This is literally how its reproductive system works. I have to be honest, this was the fact that stopped me cold. I checked multiple sources. I thought it was a translation error. It wasn't. It's called telescoping generations, and the aphid is one of a very small number of organisms on Earth where this actually works. Today we're talking about the aphid. A creature you've seen 1,000 times and never truly seen at all. How this tiny survival machine works. Why it has armies, farms, chemical weapons, and its own diplomacy with ants. And why, after this video, you will never walk past a leaf covered in a green colony with the same indifference again. And the first thing to understand is what an aphid actually is, and how 280 million years of evolution fit inside 1 millimeter. There are approximately 5,500 species of aphids on the planet. Green, black, red, white, gray. On roses, cabbages, grains, pines, roots underground. Nearly every plant has its own species. Some aphids live exclusively on one specific plant, and no other. Total specialization. The body is soft and pear-shaped. 6 legs. 2 small tubes at the rear of the body, siphoncles, through which the aphid releases alarm pheromones when threatened, and nearby individuals react instantly. 2 long antennae. And most importantly, the stylet. The aphid's stylet consists of 4 needles bundled together. When the aphid lands on a leaf, it doesn't stab through it roughly, it gently parts the cells, moving between them without damaging a single one, until it reaches the phloem. The phloem is the plant's vascular system, through which sugars flow. That's exactly where it's headed. That's where the most nutritious substance is. The entire journey can take anywhere from a few minutes to several hours depending on the species and the plant. The plant barely notices the intrusion. The aphid moves between cells without tearing them. No alarm signal. No immune response. It found a way to dine in someone else's house without the host ever knowing. When the stylet reaches the phloem, the aphid doesn't even pump. The pressure inside the phloem pushes the sap directly into its stomach on its own. It simply holds the tube in place. The plant feeds it. I'll be honest, I stopped here for a moment. This isn't a parasite that crudely devours. This is an engineer that found a connection point and plugged in for a permanent feed. With zero effort on its own part. The stylet is about 1 millimeter long. Its precision is comparable to a surgical instrument, and not by accident. Bioengineers today study the aphid stylet when developing next-generation medical needles. Needles that travel between cells without damaging them. The aphid solved this problem 280 million years ago. But the stylet is only the beginning. Because what the aphid does to the plant next goes far beyond simple feeding. Along with the stylet, the aphid injects a cocktail of biologically active compounds into the plant's tissue. Not just lubricant. Not a neutral fluid. Each substance in that saliva has one goal: change the plant to serve the aphid. First, the saliva suppresses the immune response. Plants know how to defend themselves, they produce toxins, resins, reinforce cell walls. The aphid blocks these mechanisms. The plant receives a signal that an intruder is present and does not respond. The signal is there. The reaction isn't. This is not a coincidence. It is targeted chemical interference with the host's immune system. Second, some species of aphid alter the plant's metabolism, forcing it to produce more of the specific amino acids the aphid needs for nutrition. The plant literally restructures its own biochemistry to better feed the invader. As if you walked into someone's home and secretly reprogrammed their refrigerator to only stock what you personally like to eat. Third, galls. This is another level entirely. Some aphid species inject substances into the plant tissue that instruct it to grow, literally build, a closed chamber around the aphid. The plant begins proliferating around it, forming a sealed room, the gall. Inside, microclimate, protection from predators, the right humidity, a perfect shelter. The aphid didn't build it. It issued the command, and the plant built everything on its own. Some species produce galls the size of a walnut, housing entire colonies inside. But the most dangerous thing is what the aphid carries within itself. The aphid is one of the primary vectors of plant viruses. Viruses travel on its stylet, enter the phloem, and spread throughout the entire plant. Over 200 plant viruses are known to spread through aphids. Leaf mosaic, dwarfism, fruit deformation, behind most of these diseases stands the aphid. And to transfer a virus, only a few seconds of stylet contact with the tissue is needed. The aphid doesn't have to feed for long. One puncture, and the virus is inside. Did you know that before watching this video? Let me know in the comments, I'm genuinely curious. And this brings us to the question of scale, because one specimen is already a control machine. So what happens when there are a billion of them? In spring, a single female hatches from an overwintered egg. One female. No male. Males play no role all summer. The female immediately begins giving birth to live offspring, not eggs. And every offspring is already carrying the next generation inside it. This is what telescoping generations means. Inside the mother, a daughter is developing. Inside that daughter, before she's even born, a granddaughter has already begun to form. 3 generations existing simultaneously in one body. This is not a metaphor or an exaggeration. It is an anatomical fact confirmed by microscopy. An embryo containing an embryo. The term is petogenesis, reproduction before reaching adulthood. In the aphid, it has reached its most extreme form. One female gives birth to 50 to 100 offspring in her lifetime. Each of those offspring begins giving birth in 7 to 10 days. Under favorable conditions, a generation turns over every 1 to 2 weeks. Do the math yourself. By the 3rd week, one individual has become hundreds. By the 5th, thousands. By the end of summer, from a single spring female, there could theoretically be up to 600 billion descendants. 600 billion. From one individual. In one season. For comparison, Earth's human population is around 8 billion. One aphid theoretically produces offspring 75 times the entire human population of the planet in a single summer. Of course, in reality, natural enemies, disease, and resource scarcity cut this exponential curve long before those numbers. But the mechanism works exactly this way. The biological potential is real. When a colony becomes too dense or a host plant is exhausted, winged females begin to be born, not in all offspring, only in some, triggered by an overcrowding signal. They fly out, find new plants, establish new colonies. One colony spawns several more. Those spawn more still. The expansion never stops. Closer to autumn, the strategy shifts. For the first time all summer, males appear. Sexual reproduction occurs. Females lay fertilized eggs that overwinter in bark, under leaves, in soil. The eggs survive frosts down to -40 degrees. In spring, one female hatches again, and everything begins from the start. While the aphid sits on a leaf and drinks from the phloem, something is happening in its gut. Sap arrives faster than it can process. There's more sugar than it can metabolize. The excess is excreted through the rear of the body as sweet, sticky droplets. This is called honeydew. For the plant, honeydew is a problem. It coats leaves, blocks photosynthesis, creates a breeding ground for fungi. For ants, it is food. Rich in carbohydrates, accessible, predictable. And ants figured this out a very long time ago. Aphids and ants have been in symbiosis for at least 40 million years, according to paleontological evidence. 40 million years of a mutually beneficial relationship. For comparison, humans began keeping livestock about 10,000 years ago. Ants got there 4,000 times earlier. The setup works like this: an ant approaches an aphid and strokes it with its antennae. This is a signal. The aphid responds by releasing a drop of honeydew. The ant drinks it and moves to the next. This is not random contact, it is a practiced ritual, happening millions of times a day in every anthill that keeps a herd. Large colonies may maintain several such pastures on different plants, connected by permanent pheromone trails. In exchange, ants protect the aphids. If a ladybug or a lacewing larva approaches the colony, ants attack, aggressively, in coordination. The predator retreats in most cases. Some ant species go further, they move aphids to more succulent shoots when the old ones are depleted. In autumn, they take aphid eggs into underground chambers, where they overwinter in warmth. In spring, the ants carry them back out to the plants. This is not symbiosis, this is livestock farming. And some ant species have one more practice that puts everything in perspective. If an aphid grows wings and prepares to fly away, the ant bites them off. The livestock must not leave. But the aphid has its own tools of influence in this relationship, and that makes the story far more complex than just a shepherd and its flock. The aphid is not a passive participant. It actively manages the ants. The saliva of some aphid species contains substances that alter ant behavior, making them more loyal to that specific colony, essentially chemical subordination of an ally. The aphid emits pheromones that ants interpret as a signal. Resource here, guard it. The ant didn't decide to guard. The aphid led it there. Some aphid species survive significantly worse without ants. The dependence has become mutual. This is no longer livestock farming, it's a full-fledged alliance between two species, 40 million years in the making. Colony defense and aphid soldiers. Beyond the alliance with ants, the aphid has its own defense mechanisms. First, the alarm pheromone. When a predator attacks, the aphid releases a cloud of chemical signal through its sifuncles. Neighboring individuals react immediately, some freeze, some drop off the leaf, others begin to move. The signal also attracts ant guards. Second, waxy threads. In many species, the sifuncles release sticky fibers. If a predator grabs an aphid, the threads wrap around its mouthparts and legs, impeding movement. The predator is forced to stop and clean itself. The aphid escapes. Third, soldiers. And this is truly unexpected. In some aphid species, there exist special individuals, soldiers. They appear only inside galls. They never leave the gall. And they never reproduce. Their one and only function is defense. Thickened front legs with sharp spines. When a predator enters, they attack, latching on and refusing to let go, often at the cost of their own lives. Altruism in insects is rare. We see it in bees, ants, and termites, species with advanced social structures. Aphids were traditionally not counted among them. But soldiers exist, and their discovery seriously reshaped our understanding of the limits of social behavior in insects. This is the moment in the whole subject that struck me most. 1 millimeter. No brain in any sense we understand. And an individual that will never leave offspring but will die defending those who will. That is evolution written directly into the body. The aphid is commonly considered a pest. From an agronomist's perspective, that's accurate. From an ecosystem perspective, it's an incomplete picture. The aphid is one of the key food sources for a vast number of species. Ladybugs, lacewing larvae, hoverflies, spiders, earwigs, small predatory bugs, all of these are hunters whose diets are largely built on aphids. One adult ladybug eats up to 50 aphids per day. Its larva, up to 400 over its entire developmental cycle. Remove aphids, and these populations collapse. Birds are a separate story. Many species of titmice, sparrows, and warblers collect aphids to feed their chicks. Aphids are soft, small, rich in protein, the ideal first food. During the nesting season, one pair of tits brings its chicks around 1,000 insects per day, and aphids make up a significant share of that flow. Without aphids, fewer chicks, fewer birds, fewer animals controlling other harmful insects. In regions where aphid populations have declined due to heavy pesticide use, a parallel decline in insectivorous bird populations has been recorded. The connection is direct. Then there are parasitoid wasps, a world unto themselves. These are tiny wasps, 1 to several millimeters in size, that lay an egg directly inside a living aphid. The larva hatches inside and begins feeding, without immediately damaging vital organs. The aphid lives while the larva grows. At some point it pupates, right inside the host's body, transforming it into a hard, golden brown casing. A mummy. Then it chews its way out and flies off. If you've ever seen swollen, golden, motionless aphids on a leaf, those are mummies. Inside each one, a wasp pupa. These wasps are used in biological crop protection, released into greenhouses instead of pesticides. The aphid's honeydew doesn't go to waste either. It coats surfaces and becomes a nutrient medium for saprotrophic fungi, which feed other organisms in turn. The aphid is embedded in the food web not at one point, but at several simultaneously. It is a node. It connects the plant world to the world of predatory insects, birds, fungi, and parasites. Remove it and you pull a thread that holds half the fabric together. But when aphids multiply beyond a threshold, the consequences for humans are no longer abstract ecology. They are money. Vast amounts of money. The damage from aphids in global agriculture is estimated in the tens of billions of dollars annually. This isn't an abstract figure, it's lost harvests of wheat, corn, cotton, soybeans, potatoes. It's farmers' income, grocery store prices, government subsidies for pesticides. Aphids strike twice. The first blow is direct, they drain sap, weaken the plant, slow growth, reduce yield. The second blow comes through the viruses they carry. One infected aphid can visit dozens of plants in a single day. The virus spreads across a field faster than any chemical treatment can respond. In the 1860s, a tiny creature called grape phylloxera was accidentally introduced from North America to Europe. It is the aphid's closest relative, same order. It feeds on the roots of the grapevine, slowly undermining them from within. The vine yellows, weakens, and dies. Quietly. Slowly. Unstoppably. Over the next 20 years, phylloxera destroyed roughly 2/3 of France's vineyards. In France alone, over 1 million hectares of vines were lost. Spain, Italy, Germany, and Portugal followed. Entire regions with centuries of winemaking tradition were erased. Thousands of families were ruined. Villages emptied. The economic losses are comparable to the aftermath of a war. I'll be honest, this was the scale that stopped me. Not an army. Not an epidemic in the conventional sense. An insect smaller than a millimeter. That destroyed the economy of an entire continent. The solution was found almost by accident. American grapevine varieties had evolved alongside phylloxera and developed resistance. European vines began to be grafted onto American rootstock. This saved the industry, but to this day, almost all European wines grow on American root systems. Every glass of French wine is a small reminder that one species of aphid permanently changed the history of winemaking. Humans have been at war with aphids for a long time. And it is an instructive war, a story about who proves smarter in the long run. The first tool an agronomist reaches for during an aphid outbreak is insecticides. They work fast, effectively, predictably. No colony can resist a modern product at the moment of application. The problem is not the first application. The problem is the next season. In one summer, the aphid goes through 10 to 15 generations. Each generation is a potential adaptation. If a random mutation arises giving resistance to a specific compound, that individual survives. Its offspring too. Within months, the majority of the colony is resistant. Documented cases exist where full resistance formed in a single season, spring to autumn. This is called acquired resistance, and today hundreds of confirmed cases have been recorded of different aphid species developing resistance to different classes of insecticides. Aphids adapt faster than most other agricultural pests. Farmers are forced to switch compounds. Then switch again. And again. This is the pesticide treadmill, and the industry has no incentive to stop it. And the aphid keeps adapting to each new product in turn. Some populations have developed not just chemical, but behavioral resistance. They sense the smell of a pesticide in advance and evacuate, burrowing into curled leaves, hiding on the undersides of leaf blades, moving to untreated shoots. This is not a simple instinct. It is a response to a chemical signal that spreads through the colony and effectively organizes its evacuation. Biological methods are more reliable in the long term: parasitoid wasps, predatory bugs, deliberate release of lacewing populations. These work. In some countries, biological protection completely replaces chemical control in greenhouses. But in open fields, it's slow. By the time the regulator builds up force, the aphid has already done its damage. Has your view of the aphid changed after what you've learned so far? Let me know in the comments. And now let's go inside the aphid, literally, because inside this creature, something else is living. The internal ecosystem, bacteria inside the cells. Inside every aphid, in specialized cells called bacteriocytes, live bacteria. Not in the gut. Not on the surface. Inside the cells themselves. They are called Buchnera aphidicola. And this is not a disease. This is a partnership, the most ancient imaginable. The phloem sap the aphid feeds on is rich in sugars but poor in essential amino acids, the building blocks of proteins, without which life is impossible. The aphid cannot synthesize these amino acids on its own. But Buchnera can. The bacteria produce exactly the amino acids missing from the plant sap. The aphid eats, Buchnera processes, the aphid gets complete nutrition. Over roughly 150 million years of shared life, the bacteria have lost most of their genes. A typical bacterium has around 4,000 genes. Buchnera has about 650. It shed everything unnecessary through evolution, retaining only what produces amino acids and maintains its own reproduction. This is called an obligate endosymbiont, two organisms so mutually dependent they have effectively ceased to be separate in any biological sense. Buchnera is one of the examples of how symbiosis can go so far that it becomes indistinguishable from fusion. Mitochondria, the organelles that produce energy in every cell in your body, were once independent bacteria too. That's exactly how it happened, endosymbiosis. Buchnera may be halfway to the same destination. It is no longer quite a bacterium. Not yet an organelle. Something in between. This, honestly, is the detail that struck me separately. The aphid already breaks conventional categories on its own. And then it turns out it's not quite one organism, it's a coalition. When the aphid reproduces, Buchnera is passed to offspring directly through the egg cell. Generation after generation. 150 million years in a row. And beyond Buchnera, secondary symbionts also live inside the aphid, other bacteria with their own functions. Some protect against parasitoid wasps. Others help withstand heat. Others expand the range of accessible host plants. The aphid is not one organism. It is an ecosystem in 1 millimeter. 280 million years ago, there was not a single flower on the planet. Only spore plants, ferns, horsetails, tree-like club mosses. And already then, on their stems, appeared a creature with a thin stylet capable of piercing tissue and extracting sap. The first aphids didn't feed on phloem in the modern sense, they drew sap from more primitive vascular systems. But the principle was already in place: fine stylet, movement between cells, living off another organism's resources. Meanwhile, according to molecular clocks, coevolution with Buchnera was already underway. Analysis of mutation rates in the DNA of both partners shows their alliance began approximately 150 to 200 million years ago. This means that by the time the first dinosaurs appeared, the aphid was already carrying its nutrient-producing bacterium inside its cells. When flowering plants began to spread, around 130 million years ago, aphids evolved alongside them. A new plant species appeared, a specialized aphid species appeared with it. Step by step, the picture we see today assembled itself: 5,500 species, each with its own host. The evidence for this history lies in amber. In Burmese amber dated to around 100 million years ago, aphids have been found that are nearly indistinguishable from modern ones. The same sifuncles, the same pear-shaped silhouette, the same stylet anatomy. Minimal change over 100 million years. This is evolutionary conservatism, when a body plan works so well that selection offers nothing better. In Baltic amber, around 45 million years old, something even more striking was found: an aphid next to an ant, in the same position we see them in today. Their documented alliance is at least 45 million years old. I'll be honest, this fact stopped me separately. You look at a piece of resin 100 million years old and see an aphid that looks exactly like the one sitting on your rose today. Time seemed to have stood still. The aphid survived 5 mass extinctions. After each one, it rebuilt quickly. Clonal reproduction allows a population to be rebuilt from zero, from a single surviving individual, within a few weeks. While other species recovered over millennia, the aphid recovered in 1 season. Not because it's strong. Because it's fast, flexible, and running a plan that never needed to change. The aphid turns out to be an unexpectedly valuable object for science, and not just as a pest to be defeated, but as a source of ideas. The first discovery concerns pheromones. In the 1970s, scientists identified the aphid's primary alarm pheromone, a substance called beta-farnesene. This is what the aphid releases through its siphuncules when a predator attacks. Neighboring individuals react immediately, they scatter, drop, freeze. Scientists went further. What if this substance were synthesized and sprayed on fields? It turned out to work. Beta-farnesene does 2 things simultaneously. Aphids detect it and leave the treated area, while their predators, wasps, bugs, lacewings, are attracted to the source. A pheromone trap that simultaneously repels the pest and draws in its enemies. No chemicals, no toxins, no resistance. One of the most promising directions in biological crop protection today. The second area, epigenetics. All aphids in a clonal colony share an identical genome. But some are born winged, others aren't. Some become soldiers, others become reproductive females. One and the same DNA producing fundamentally different organisms. That is pure epigenetics, genes being switched on and off in response to external signals, without any change in the DNA sequence itself. The aphid has become one of the key model organisms for studying these mechanisms. The third, medicine. The aphid stylet, for sliding needles moving between cells without tearing them, with virtually no pain or bleeding, is being studied by medical engineers. Prototypes of painless injection needles and diagnostic probes built on the model of the aphid stylet already exist. An unintentional engineer of medicine. The fourth, climate. Global warming is shifting aphid ranges. They are appearing where they never existed before. Warmer winters mean eggs survive in places where they previously would have died. Spring arrives earlier, and aphids begin reproducing faster. Scientists are recording that the first appearance of aphids on agricultural fields has shifted approximately 2 weeks earlier compared to the mid-20th century. More generations, more viruses, more losses. The aphid is one of the most precise living indicators of climate change. A creature we are accustomed to ignoring turns out to be a measuring instrument. And this brings us back to where we began, to 1 millimeter that contains far more than it appears. So, 1 millimeter. No teeth, no claws, no venom, no speed, no voice. It can't even truly run away, it just falls off a leaf and hopes. And yet, 280 million years on this planet. 5 mass extinctions survived. 5,500 species. A 40 million year alliance with ants. Bacteria it has carried inside its cells for 150 million years in a row. Soldiers who will never leave offspring. Pheromones that simultaneously control ants and alter plant behavior. A stylet being replicated by medical engineers. A history that destroyed the vineyards of 2/3 of Europe. A creature born pregnant, that clones itself, that survives everything, in a body the size of a pinhead. I think about it this way. We tend to dismiss the small and the quiet. Those that don't growl, don't catch the eye, don't end up in nature documentaries. The aphid is living proof of how poorly that criterion works. What struck me most, after working through all of this, was not any single fact. It was the realization that it was always there. On every bush, every tree, every garden leaf. We stepped on it without noticing. We drenched it in chemicals thinking we were winning. It adapted in a single season and moved on. Quietly. Without pretension. 280 million years. Quietly. Without pretension. Is there a creature of your own that once surprised you when you actually looked? Let me know in the comments. The next time you see a leaf covered in tiny green or black dots, stop for a second. That's 280 million years of evolution. That's a pregnant daughter inside whom a granddaughter is growing. That's a soldier who will die without leaving offspring. That's bacteria inside a cell that long ago ceased to be merely bacteria,